Welcome to the JP8 Report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 329. Good afternoon, everyone. If y'all are wondering what's going on in the chat, me and Rob Padre, we were discussing the fact that we've been trying to find a Texas flag emoji forever, and we can't figure out how to get it on Rumble. If any of y'all are watching, either in the chat in the comments after the podcast or during the live chat, hey, if you know how to make emojis for Rumble or how to get them, let us know. All right, because me and him have been trying for ages and we're to no avail. But welcome to the JP8 Report. Thank y'all for tuning in today. There's a little bit of news going on out there. Most of it is geared toward Tucson, Arizona. But that's why you do your research, right? My show prep is almost constant basis. But that's all right. So before we get started, if you are not already a follower of the JP8 Report, please click that follow button and join the team, all right? And then right next to it, give us a thumbs up like. And like I was just saying just a minute ago, like right now we have 7 people in the chat. We're ramping up. Engage us on the chat. That'd be awesome. And me and Rob. Rob is like my unofficial hall monitor. So he'll talk to you. I'll talk to you. I'll try to chat when I can. I got a lot of reading and stuff to do. So yeah, give us a try. And then you can always share the podcast. And then also you can, why is this not, hold on, let me refresh. All right, you can see me now. All right, I thought I was. Hey Rob, were you seeing me from the very beginning? Just let me know, okay? And then Rumble also has a thing called the Rumble Wallet that you can, if you want to leave a tip, it says tip on there right beside where it says the JP8 Report. You can leave me a tip in there if you would like also. All right, so let me push this back just a little bit. I'm redlining on my mic. You know, usually when you are talking to people on an interview, they tell you to eat the mic. Well, this microphone, it's a blue mic. It is really good. So if you're ever in the market, it's I think it's called Blue. I still got the box. I keep, being in the Army. When you're in the Army, when you buy something that's electronic, a lot of times you keep the box because eventually one day you're gonna move, and you're like, oh man, I need that box to pack that thing back in. That's why a lot of military people keep their boxes. All right, so. Oh, well, Rob, I was asking. See, I'm engaging him on the chat. I was asking because I got swirls, thinking green circles on my mobile and on my tablet. But on my desktop, I can see myself talking to myself. Okay, so we got all that done. America 250. So this America 250 is a letter from Jonathan Trumbull to George Washington on the 12th of February, 1776. I received your 2 favors of the 8th. Have also received bacon, the remittance for the expenses of the French gentleman in Philadelphia. I had no design to have ever called upon you for the money paid our troops under the immediate command, but to have accounted with the Congress had we not had been unexpectedly drained of cash and had pressing calls upon us 2 or 3 ways at once. That to the northward could not possibly have been answered, but for the seasonable arrival of the continental supply just sufficient for that purpose. Our other demands for the common service are many. Men, for the short service with you, could not have marched without some money, which they have, I trust, wholly expended for necessary clothing. I therefore could have wished it had been in your power to remitted the sum advanced by your pay table, but shall do everything in my power that the common interest do not suffer. I am greatly concerned at the scarcity of powder and arms. We have not sufficiency for ourselves as the circumstances may be, yet anxious to furnish you for the common good with every supply in our power. To have ordered a quantity of gunpowder lately arrived at Bedford and Dartmouth, carted to and now lying at Providence on account of this colony, to be sent you with all possible expedition. 3,000 weight of this we could conclude to order to Major Thompson, agent of the Massachusetts colony, on account of money he supplied to Mr. Shaw, the importer. For that end, you will consult him or them concerning the use of it. I suppose the whole to be upwards of 6,000 weight in residue on account of his colony, for which shall expect payment, to be replaced as shall be hereafter chosen by us. I shall send you this week 20 or 30 strands of good arms. I have not certain advice from every quarter, but I believe our 3 regiments are all those on the march to your camp, except those already arrived there. I have much more agreeable intelligence from General Lee and the New York Congress than I expected. I can't but hope propitious heaven will smile success on that most timely and judicious exertion of your Excellency to prevent our enemies possessing themselves of that important station. I have the pleasure to enclose you a copy of General Lee's letter. In compliance with his request, I have already sent orders to Colonel Ward to repair again forthwith to New York. I am, sir, with the greatest esteem and regard, your most obedient, humble servant, Jonathan Trumbull, Sr. All right, so that's your America 250. Looking for weapons, looking for powder, and a little bit of strategy and intelligence. All righty. And then, as we talk about almost every day to make everybody hungry, since this is lunchtime, Dalmatian. They make smash burgers and dogs right here in Copper's Cove. They all their ingredients are homemade and fresh, including their buns. So they're open Monday through Saturday for lunch at 11 to 2, and from Tuesday to Saturday in the evening time from 5:30 to 7 for dinner. And they're located on the west side of Copper's Cove, behind Bush's Chicken on Business 190. All right. So, hold on, let me get set here. There we go. All right. So, first thing I want to talk about is I about died yesterday evening when I was listening. I was listening on the radio. And I was going to church, matter of fact, and I heard on Fox that they were talking about the Judicial Committee hearing in Congress with Bondi, the Attorney General, right? And she must have got a heated argument with Jamie Raskin. He's the ranking member of the Judicial Committee. So while in the middle of her argument, she called him a washed-up loser lawyer, which I agree. I totally agree with that. He is a loser. His wife is a good lawyer, but he is a loser. That's why he spent so many years in Congress, because he can't do anything else. All right. So, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and regardless of what you think about Pam Bondi, she's still a cabinet secretary in President Trump's cabinet. I guess he respects her a lot, so she's still employed. She's got a job to do, right? And a legal, fair job to do. But I love when she comes out fighting, all right? Attorney General Pam Bondi ripped the House Judiciary Committee ranking member Jamie Raskin as a washed-up loser lawyer before clashing with lawmakers from both parties during a Wednesday hearing. It's because that everyone wants to talk about Jeffrey Epstein instead of talking about the economy and people being held accountable for their legal troubles. All right. President Trump's top law enforcement official testified before the panel following the release of millions of files related to the prosecution of deceased pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, with several victims in attendance. Judiciary Democrats and one Republican accused Bondi of ignoring those victims and having her Department of Justice harmfully release documents identifying some of them while redacting identities of members of Epstein's rich and powerful circle. You're not showing a lot of interest here to the victims, Jamie Raskin challenged her, whether it's Epstein's human trafficking ring or the homicidal government violence against citizens in Minneapolis. The Attorney General you're siding with the perpetrators and you're ignoring the victims. In a heated exchange with Raskin, the AG accused Democrats only caring about the issue because Trump is in the White House. She's absolutely correct. All right. Raskin demanded in one of those back and forths that Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, restore time to retiring Representative Jerry, I can't wait to go to the bathroom, Nadler, as Bondi ignored his question about possible indictments on Epstein co-conspirators. You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch, not on our time. No way, Raskin said. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started. You don't tell me anything, Bondi erupted before mocking Raskin as a washed-up loser lawyer, not even a lawyer. Bondi then rounded on Nadler as Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. No, that's not what she said. That's what I said. You said the president conspired, sought foreign interference in the 2016 election. Robert Mueller found no evidence, none. No foreign interference in 2016. Have you apologized to President Trump? You should all be apologizing. You sit here and you attack the president. I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it, she continued. None of them asked former Attorney General Merrick Garland over the past 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump. Most Democrats' questions, as well as Representative Thomas Massey, focus on the so-called Epstein files. claiming that the DOJ was covering for those potentially indicted in crimes. At one point, Pramila Jayapal, she's a squad person from Washington State, asked Epstein's victims or family members in attendance to stand and raise their hand if they have not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Well, my question is, have they got to meet with the Merrick Garland Department of Justice? And that answer would be no. Bondi responded with a straightforward, why didn't she ask Merrick Garland this twice when he sat in my chair? I'm not going to get in the gutter with her theatrics. Massey and Representative Ro Khanna co-authored a bill signed by Trump this past November that released more than 3 million pages of investigative materials on Epstein and his convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. I heard her nickname is G-Max. So if you ever hear me say G-Max, her name is hard to pronounce. So I usually just revert back to G-Max. Since then, Massey, Khanna, and others have questioned why some men have identified as potential conspirators had their names redacted in the DOJ files, and some victims had their identities unmasked. Literally, the worst thing you could do to the survivors, Massey lashed out at Bondi, you did. If any man's name was redacted that should not have been, well, we will, of course, unredact it, Bondi said. If a victim's name is unredacted, please bring it to us and we'll redact it. My only question is that once it's unredacted and it's published, no matter how much black ink you put on it, people are going to know what's under that black ink. Massey hit back at the Attorney General during his line of questioning, showing 3 documents emblematic of massive failures of DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Bondi blew past the line of questioning, telling Jordan that Massey has Trump derangement syndrome and calling him a failed politician. All true. That's my comment. The Attorney General used her time to draw attention how Democrats and their donors had associated with Epstein for years before his arrest on federal charges in 2019, including long after he pled guilty in 2008 to soliciting a minor for prostitution and registering as a sex offender. U.S. Virgin Islands delegate Stacey Plaskett, a Democrat, had even texted with the disgraced financier during a 2019 House Oversight Committee hearing about questions to help out Michael Cohen. So, at least she comes out fighting. I wish more Republicans would get out there and fight for President Trump than they actually do. A lot of them just bloviate and don't even know what they're saying and just keep going and going and going just to get clickbait and get on the evening news so people back home go, hey, look at that. It's Humpty Dumpty and he can actually challenge the president and disrespect him and make himself look great. Yeah, that's all they want to do. And there's Republicans that do it just as well as Democrats do it. Instead of coalescing together and passing a necessary legislation. Epstein is dead. We got the files. A lot of it's past the statute of limitations. I don't know what more else you can do besides just embarrass someone until they off themselves or quit their jobs, and now they can't even support their families if they're married. I understand the situation because if I was in the same shoes with my daughter, that happening to my daughter, I'd be irate and I'd just want the guy dead. But it's done. It's finished. None of the president is not in these files, and they just keep at it. They keep it in the news. So they do it so the president's good news doesn't get into the media. It's hard enough for President Trump to get on ABC, CBS, NBC. Unless he screws up and does something crazy, they'll never put his good stuff in the news. You have to go to Fox, you got to go to Newsmax, and sometimes News Nation and One News Nation to get stuff like that. But the legacy lamestream media, you got to pull their teeth out to get anything positive out of them about President Trump. And the fact that Pam Bondi is going to fight for the president, you know what? She can screw up left and right. She's fighting for the president. I respect her for that. I do. Some people don't, but I respect her for that. She's very loyal to the president. All right. Onward. The SAVE Act. Senate Bill 1383 passed the House of Representatives for the fourth time. Fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth time. How many times does the Speaker got to get a bill passed through his House to get it passed in the Senate? This is ridiculous. It passed 218 to 213 to 1. The one vote was a Republican. Here we go again. Okay? Greg Murphy, Republican, 3rd Congressional District of North Carolina. He was a present vote. He did not vote yes or did not vote no. And from where I came from, a present vote is the same as voting no. All right? So I do not know what his mission was in life, but he didn't vote for the SAVE Act. And then there was one Democrat that voted for it. That was Henry Cuellar from here down in Texas. He's down in the Citrus Valley. I believe he is the 34th Congressional District. I'm not sure. All right. So in the Senate, we're up on the headwinds in the Senate because we have a 53 seat majority, 53 to 47. Really, it's 53 to 45 to 2 because there's like 2 independents. That'd be Angus King and Bernie Sanders are both independents, but they vote Democrats all the time. So the senators, the Republican senators that are having a hard time deciding if they want to support the SAVE Act and get it passed is, and I'm naming them because I really don't care. Senators Susan Collins of Maine, she just filed for re-election. Then you have Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, and you have Dan Sullivan from Alaska. You have Mitch McConnell. All those. Lisa Murkowski she said she's a hard no. Okay. Everyone else is like, hey, they haven't made up their mind yet, or they're not on record. Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina, and Senator Capito. I can't think of what her first name is, but she's from West Virginia. And then just recently, John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, we're having a hard time getting them to put the bill on the floor. He said he actually supports the SAVE Act. All right. So these are the people giving us a hard time. So what I wrote down, remember, it was 218 to 213 to 1. All right. The House of Representatives passed a massive election integrity overhaul bill on Wednesday, despite opposition from the vast majority of Democrats. Who cares about the Democrats? The House passed Chip Roy's Save America Act legislation aimed at keeping non-citizens from voting in U.S. federal elections. All but one Democrat, Henry Cuellar, Democrat of Texas voted against the bill. It passed 218-213. An updated version of the SAVE Act, also led by Chip Roy of Texas, which passed the House in April 2025, was never taken up in the Senate. Whereas the SAVE Act would create a new federal proof of citizenship mandate for the voter registration process and impose requirements for states to keep their voter rolls of ineligible voters. The updated bill would also require photo ID to vote in any federal elections. Let me stop there. My daughter, my youngest daughter, lives in Harker Heights, right? She called me yesterday afternoon and said, Dad, I have a non-moving question because in 35 minutes, I have to sign off because I'm going to Harker Heights and I'm going to assist them loading up their U-Haul, and they're leaving from Fort Hood to go to Fort Campbell, all right? It's a sad day because my baby is moving off with her husband to another city. But she called me yesterday and said, Dad, I got my voter registration card in. Oh, that's great. But I got 3 more here with me for people that don't even live in my house, and 2 of them I'd have never heard of before. So evidently, Bell County has a problem with their voter registration because they're still sending voter cards to people that don't even live in the area. My daughter's lived in a house for 13 months now, I believe, right? And 2 of those people don't even live there. So why are they still on the voters' rolls? Because they're gone. They moved. In Texas, law is if you move, you have 30 days to update your driver's license. So that automatically updates your voter's address. So what gives? I told her just write on them, not at this address, and put them back in the mailbox. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, so it happens in Texas, just like it happens in California, just like it happens in Michigan and New York and everywhere else. That's why we have to have this act passed to make it work. And we need it to work. We need voter ID. We need proof of citizenship. We need to do away with ranked choice voting. And we got to keep the voter rolls up. That is, and then the mail-in ballot thing. That's all got to be taken care of. So we know enough about the House. So I'm going to read about the Senate, okay? I alluded a little bit into this morning, and I stopped because I ran out of time. But this is from the Federalist. It has a picture of my favorite U.S. Senator on her. Lisa, I can't win a U.S. Senate election, so I'm going to change the rules in the middle of the game so I can get elected and use the ranked choice voting system in the state of Alaska, which for 2 years cost us a Republican in the House of Representatives because there's a stupid antics she wanted to do just to save her Senate seat from another Republican. Okay. Sources say some Senate Republicans don't want to see the popular election integrity measure come up for a vote. The House this week, okay, that already happened, is set to take up the SAVE Act and an election integrity measure that some Senate Republicans can't even get behind enough, though the vast majority of Americans already have. 95% of the Republicans want voter ID, and 73% of Democrats want voter ID. That's a vast, absolute, veto-proof majority. And the Democrats hate it. Last time I checked, there wasn't 73% of the electorate that are Republicans. There's 73% of Democrats would equal about 50 million voters, right? Okay. The House Majority Leader Steve Scalise's office confirms the SAVE Act, which would require proof of U.S. citizenship to register and photo identification to vote in federal elections, will hit the floor on Tuesday if passed. While Democrats will spend hours making a mockery of truth and reality and opposing it, the legislation is expected to pass mostly along party lines, as the original SAVE Act did some 300 days ago. But as the House prepares to send another bill aimed at protecting federal elections from fraud, the GOP-led Senate can't seem to get its act together. Why? Because the sad state of affairs is that some Republican senators need to be talked to into moving on to SAVE Act or its successor. The successor is Save America Act. All right? We have to convince our colleagues that this is a popular enough piece of legislation, one we have to pass, Senator Ron Johnson, Republican, Wisconsin, told the Federalist. Monday afternoon, before heading into a meeting with a parliamentarian expert to discuss the path and pitfalls of the so-called talking filibuster. As the Federalist reported last week, Republicans could take the silent filibuster off the table. Democrats would certainly use the passive-aggressive form of bill killing. Republicans with a 53-47 majority definitely don't have the 60 votes necessary to invoke cloture and move the election reform bill to the floor for a majority vote. Sources say that the majority might not have enough votes to meet the simple majority threshold. I would like to know why. All those senators I just named need to explain themselves. Existing Senate rules, however, keep the door open for the talking filibuster, meaning Senate Democrats would be forced to keep debating, talking to stall a vote. Eventually, liberals who hate the idea of voter ID would run out of things to say or talk as long as the rules allow. Each Democrat will have two opportunities to speak, old school filibuster style. Once they're done, they're done. No timeouts, no dinner breaks, no bathroom breaks. A straight debate to explain to the 80% of Americans, including a significant number of Democrats who support citizenship and ID requirements, why they so vehemently oppose basic election integrity. Spoiler alert, Democrats won't say why they want non-citizens and other ineligible voters to cast ballots in U.S. elections, but they do. Senate Minority Leader Chucky Schumer earlier this month said the SAVE Act is dead on arrival in the Senate, and every single Senate Democrat will vote against any bill that contains it. Schumer spoke too soon because Pennsylvania Senator John Carhart Fetterman, proving to be a routine thorn in the side of the far-left Democrat Party, we have been the Republican Party also, signaled his support for the Save America Act, arguing voter ID is not a radical idea. The problem, according to congressional sources, is that some Senate Republicans don't want to put themselves and their colleagues on the side of the aisle through the Democrats' expected extended temper tantrum. Johnson said some in his party believe potential hundreds of hours of Senate debate would squander precious time for other precious business. A point the Democrats' marketing team and corporate media will dutifully hammer every day of said debate, which is right. Uh, if you ever watch their Votorama, it's crazy. They think how difficult it's going to be, by how much they can be assured of success. The Wisconsin Republican said that, Senator Johnson. They think if we take the floor time for this, we won't be able to pass X, Y, and Z. But we're not going to pass X, Y, and Z anyway, so let's focus on something we can pass, something that's worthy of passing. Democrats have grown quite fond of the filibuster in this first 3+ months. In the first 3+ months of President Trump's second term, Democrats employed the silent killer several times, including filibusters to strangle bill-barring men pretending to be women from competing in women's sports, and Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, which would require medical care for babies born after botched abortions. In the current session of Congress, 225 cloture motions have been filed as of February 6. Wow. That's according to U.S. Senate records. The Democrats may filibuster. The Democrats' many filibusters have been the silent type. Last week, Majority Leader John Thune reportedly said there was nothing decided on changing the rules to require a talking filibuster, a proposal the South Dakota Republican and some of his Senate colleagues are interested in. Hold on, let me get something to drink. All right. Hey, if you like this so far, give me an American flag in the live chat, please. Okay. Some GOP senators like Johnson would like to see more bang for the buck out of an election integrity bill. In essence, if we're going to go through the trouble of having to listen to the likes of Cory Spartacus Booker drone on in adult diapers for hours at a time, you might as well put some more meat on the bone. Johnson and Senator Rick Scott from Florida, Senator Mike Lee from Utah, the co-author of the bill, which is Senate Bill 1383, 1383, met with Trump last week at the White House to discuss bill language. Trump wants to eliminate mail-in voting while Republicans look to limit it. I think we're going to need to tighten up on the requirements for absentee voting, Johnson told Wisconsin Public Radio last week. I am opposed to mail-in register or mail-in balloting. And some Republicans apparently look like the legislation. Some Republicans apparently would like the legislation to go away. Leadership can always blame the senator's erroneous rules and procedures for making that disappear. And Michael Brown, he's a conservative. Man, I remember when he worked for the White House. A conservative talk show host and former FEMA director under President George W. Bush. If you didn't know, I used to work through the part of the White House. Republicans let the Democrats play their games, and we'll play our games. We'll go to Fox News and we'll talk about how we really want to do this, but we really can't, because if we do, the Democrats are going to filibuster. Brown said Saturday on his national weekend show, it's the usual machinations that the Republicans are going to go through to avoid the debate, trying to avoid a vote. Almost done, okay? Of course, and this is important, so I'm sorry if I'm boring anyone, but this one act can reform the way we vote in our country and make it legitimate to be able to vote in our country, where we don't actually have to worry as much if our vote is going to be cheated on us, okay? Okay, so I would continue. Of course, there's the usual RINOs, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Susan Collins of Maine, who think it uncivil to upset their friends on the left. The SAVE Act, introduced in the Senate last year, garnered 49 Republican co-sponsors. Collins and Murkowski were not on the list. Neither answered the Federalist emails on Monday whether they support the Save and Save America Acts and whether they would vote for the bills on the back of the talking filibuster. John Cornyn, our endangered species here in Texas, where was that? John Cornyn, Texas senior senator, as his office notes, is a longtime co-sponsor of the SAVE Act and Save America Act, but Brown asserts Cornyn doesn't want the bill to come up for a vote. Congressional sources have told the Federalists the same. John Cornyn, see, this is why this man needs to go. Whether it be Wesley Hunt or Ken Paxton, this senator needs to retire. A Cornyn spokesman tells the Federalists that the Republican would vote in favor of the bill should a vote occur in the Senate, something he has called on Senator Leader John Thune to do. I hope the U.S. Senate will take up and pass the legislation, and I and others have been discussing it with the majority leader, Cornyn said in a press release. Yeah, sure. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder. Senator Mitch McConnell, the chairman of the Rules Committee, is conspicuously missing from the aforementioned co-sponsors list, asked the same questions. The McConnell spokesman directed the Federalists to the former majority leader's April op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. In a piece, McConnell warned that Trump's election integrity executive order, which includes citizenship verification, carries grave risk for the country. Even a targeted federal mandate to strengthen electoral integrity today would make it easier for future Democrat presidents and Congress to use more sweeping mandates to carry out a complete federal takeover of America's elections, the op-ed asserts. And for the last page. Contrary to the uniparty claims, the SAVE Act and its enhancements would not federalize elections. They would fix grievous errors contained in a very flawed election laws passed by Congress and signed by both Democrat and Republican presidents. Yet, here we are, as Johnson says. The Senate Republicans who give a blank about election integrity have to convince their colleagues the legislation obviously is in line with the American people and are popular enough to pass. And then update, okay. Unsurprisingly, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska once again confirmed her RINO status on Tuesday morning on an X post opposing the SAVE Act. Just like her Democrat colleagues, she fear-mongered about federalized elections, imposing new election requirements ahead of midterms. Apparently, Murkowski and others opposing the common sense legislation need to revisit Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution, which authorizes Congress to alter election laws at any time. That's a lot of reading, and you know what? That made sense. Now I know why I like thefederalist.com. There is nothing that's going to endanger our election process if you pass this. I'm tired of the Democrats' rhetoric of anything that comes out of the president's mouth. It's bad for America. It's racist. It's homogenic, or what do they call it? It's Zionist. What other hateful words? Oh, he's a king. He's a dictator. He's fascist. You know, instead of like, Mr. President, that's a really good idea. Let's go with that. Let's give it a go and make our process a whole lot easier to be able to vote in the United States. But since the president is at the helm, they hate it. They hate him with all their might. They hate him. They hate him. They hate him, and they won't give him a chance. And the Republicans that will stand right beside them and say the same thing over and over again. Who in their right mind, like Lisa Murkowski, would want to have ranked choice voting in their state in the first place? It's utterly ridiculous. It's undemocratic. Get it passed. Like I heard Graham Allen say this morning, I'm not telling you to call your senator, but here's their phone numbers. You know what? I don't have a slide for that, but they call these senators and blow their phone up. We need this passed. We need it passed now. Senator Cornyn, before you leave the Senate, you need to at least do one really good thing to make up the red flag laws you helped pass a few years ago. You should have never done that, but you might be able to save a little bit of face as you're leaving the Congress because you got beat in the primary. Pass the bill. Pass it. Man, too easy. We pay you $176,000 a year to be a U.S. Senator, and you won't be one because you don't want to vote. You use these stupid, archaic rules. Well, we can't vote because we have to do the primary, the secondary, the tertiary, scratch my head vote, and maybe if we get a cloture, we can vote also. Do your job, man, or resign. Let Greg Abbott appoint a new senator for a few months. That might be a better thing for you to do, sir. Just resign your office. Let Greg Abbott appoint a temporary senator, and then the next one to take its place. Get me all riled up. What is it? Already 12:46, and I've only got two spots in. So you know why we need to straighten up our election system in the United States? You know, last week there was a raid. I think it was last week or the week before last. There was a raid in Georgia and Atlanta for election documents, right? Well, the FBI has substantiated irregularities in Georgia 2020 vote counts, probing if they were intentional. The FBI, this is from Justin News with John Solomon, another reputable journalist. The FBI has substantiated some major irregularities in how votes were counted in, I can't read this part. It's all blanked out. In the aftermath of the 2020 election, and is probing whether those violate federal election law, according to a bombshell affidavit unsealed. FBI Special Agent Hugh Raymond Evans first filed the affidavit last month during the raid in Georgia that seized about 700 boxes of Georgia 22 election ballots from a storage warehouse in the Atlanta area after getting a referral from the Trump White House election integrity czar Kurt Olson. The affidavit included information gleaned from FBI interviews about a dozen unnamed witnesses recounting various allegations that dated back to the disputed 2020 election in Georgia, in which Joe Biden was narrowly declared the winner over Donald Trump. Some of those allegations have been disproven, while some of the allegations have been substantiated, including through admissions by Fulton County, Evans wrote. The warrant application is part of the FBI criminal investigation on whether any of the improprieties were intentional acts or violated federal criminal laws. Many of the substantiated allegations were previously reported by Just the News over the past 5 years based on a review of the ballot records. And the affidavit dated January 28th cited 5 areas of irregularities. Fulton County has admitted it does not have scanned images of all 528,777 ballots counted during the original count, or the 527,925 ballots counted during the state's first recount, a major loss of evidence. And then Fulton County has confirmed that the recount of votes, some ballots were scanned multiple times. How do you do that? Ballot images made available in response to public record requests shows ballots with unique markings duplicated within the ballot images, the affidavit said. During the risk limiting audit, auditors counting the votes by hand reported vote tallies for batches inconsistent with the actual votes within the batch. The state's Performance Review Board reported that the Secretary of State's investigators confirmed inaccurate batch tallies from the risk limiting audit, the affidavit said. Auditors assisting the risk limiting audit reported counting purported absentee ballots that had never been creased or folded, requiring the voter's signature for authentication. On the day of the deadline to report the recount results, Fulton County reported a recount totaling 511,343 ballots, 17,434 ballots fewer than the original count. The following day, Fulton County reported a total 527,925 ballots counted. Magic numbers. Okay, just so he posted. Man, I wish I would have posted this so y'all can read it. It said Just the News reported in 2021 that a contractor sent Fulton County to observe voting on behalf of the Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger had chronicled widespread confusion, mistakes, and irregularities in the vote count. In fact, the affidavit cited Governor Brian Kemp also referred Fulton County for investigation for miscounting ballots based on information from Just the News. Despite the concerns, Raffensperger insisted none of the problems affected the outcome of the Biden defeating Trump in that state. Because he's not a Republican, he's a Democrat, right? I'm losing Rob. He has a doctor's appointment, so if you're on here, say bye. Give Rob an American flag. All right, so I'm at 12:53. So that is why we need the Save Act. That is why we need the Save Act, because it'll bring some integrity back to our election system. Like what I was telling you about Harker Heights a while ago with my daughter, what I read in the article about the about the Save Act, about Georgia, about in North Carolina. I read this morning about this one Democrat filed to run as a Republican, and she put on her website that she's not a Republican, that she's a progressive, but she's running in the Republican primary because she said she's not really a Democrat anymore. But she's still a Democrat. So if she actually defeated the sitting congressman in his primary, you have Democrat versus Democrat. This is why we need to stop this foolishness that's running around in our country, because people, it's just a power trip of people on the left that just don't know how to grasp what's going on in life. And they would rather us live in a socialistic or a communistic type of society So there's only one party rule, and the government supplies all of our needs, and they tax us through the yin yang. All right. I know I'm getting all riled up. Give me a like, please, if you like what I just went over with the Save Act and voting. Or leave a comment for people to read later on. Okay, we're at 12:54 now. Is there anything else I can... Okay, so let's see. I went over that. Let's see. The airspace closure this morning, yesterday, was due to... That was at Fort Bliss, El Paso. Was due to a holiday balloon for a birthday party. All right? Much ado about nothing. Breaking news. What do we got in breaking news? Trump rolled back air gas and... Oh, good. See, I was going to read that. You know what? I don't really have the time. Okay, let me go over this real quick. Breezy Johnson got a gold medal in the downhill this morning while we were asleep. Then right after she won and got the gold medal, her now fiance, Connor Watkins, proposed to her and gave her a diamond engagement ring. See, we can have some good news when it comes to the news, right? Tom Homan said the metro surge in New Hampshire will end by next week. Take that off. Bondi, the New York City mayor, wants to institute a 2% wealth tax on billionaires in his city. See, that's why I said they're going to lose more than 2 electoral votes in the upcoming census, because California is the same as New York, is the same as Virginia. You know, the Democratic People's Republic of Virginia and the People's Republic of California. And then I don't even what to call New York. The Soviet Socialist Republic of New York or something. They just want to steal all your money and drive the people out of the state. Mark Zuckerberg, matter of fact, announced yesterday he is moving out of the state of Florida due to the wealth tax. He's moving to Florida. The only problem is he's taking his liberal politics with him, and he'll vote Democrat when he gets there. That can be dealt with the number of Republican voters. All right? So what I was talking about was this, and I'm just going to go ahead and go over it. Okay. President Trump is, he just signed it. President Trump is poised to walk back Obama-era greenhouse gas funding that serves as a linchpin for justifying climate regulations across the country on Wednesday, but it ended up being today. That's why I couldn't find an updated copy. The 2009 endangerment finding identifies 6 greenhouse gases that the Obama administration said pose a threat to public health and welfare. The harm finding was then used to justify sweeping climate regulations from the EPA, such as raising fuel economy standards, which is called CAFE standards, and limiting power plant emissions. EPA admin Lee Zeldin hailed the move as cutting through government red tape in an interview with the journal. This amounts to the largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States. When you deregulate, you lower prices. The journal reports that the final rule will be made public later this week and is set to eliminate requirements to measure, report, certify, and comply with federal greenhouse gas emissions standards for motor vehicles. The rollback does not yet affect power plants or gas and oil facilities. More energy drives human flourishing, Doug Burgum said. He's the Interior Secretary. Energy abundance is one thing that we have to focus on, not regulating certain forms of energy out. Trump is reportedly expected to hold a White House event on Wednesday or Thursday with Lee Zeldin and Chris Wright. Matter of fact, Chris Wright was in Venezuela. They will announce a new initiative for the Department of War to purchase electricity from coal-powered plants. I heard that this morning. Lee Zeldin will meet with Trump White House on Wednesday. The Washington Coal Club, I've never heard of one of that, is also set to name Trump the undisputed champion of coal. Yeah, okay. Trump will consistently critical of global warming's claims and climate regulations through both of his terms in office, famously withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement. All right, so that's all that. So evidently, while we've been talking on the air, he did that. So took care of that one. All right. Like I said, I got to sign off. I mean, I got a lot of information I didn't even get to. But, hey, we still have the Lincoln Reagan dinner coming up on the 21st of February. In the show notes, there's a link for it. If you would like to buy a ticket, go for it, okay? It's $60 a person or $100 a ticket. I mean, a couple. And then there's some tables you can purchase if you want a 6-person table to get close to Dan Patrick, who's going to be our speaker for that. And then early vote starts in Texas on the 17th to the 27th. What I wanted to get to, and I'll get to it in the morning, definitely. There were some polls released through the Texas scorecard about races for the Attorney General, the Comptroller, and the Ag Commissioner. All right, and they were kind of surprising. So we'll see. But there's a lot of what do you call uncommitted voters, undecideds. All right. So New York Post. What do we got here? Trump, Lee Zeldin announced largest deregulation action in American history. Woo! Wow. Okay, we're doing good here. All right. So, hey, I will talk to y'all later. I didn't get to anything about Miss Guthrie, but they are still looking for her mom. And just I'm not going to show you the video because more breaking news. Hold on. DHS funding bill fails after Schumer rejects Trump ICE reform offer. Okay. So the DHS is going to be unfunded. It's ridiculous. Okay, so back to Miss Guthrie. I'm not going to show her pictures right now. I'm getting ready to sign off because I got to go. But that video and the videos and the still pictures have been all over the place. Take a look. Take a look at the backpack, the shoes, the clothing, the eyebrows. Someone that used to have that clothing in the backpack that you don't see anymore, that's been out of pocket for a few days. If you have any inclinations, call the FBI numbers. It's 1-800-CALL-FBI. All right. I got to go. I could try this all day long, but I got to go. So I will see y'all tomorrow morning with the JP's morning brief at 6:30 Central. All right. On this same channel, the JP8 report. So I hope everybody has a great afternoon. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report. I will catch you on the flip side. I'm out.